Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Binney. In today's episode, I'm going to go over the 5 things you need to know about the bench press. And to start off, there's a lot of people out there on YouTube, Instagram, and whatnot. They're good at what they do. They may be a good bencher, but they may not know how to teach it. And you see a lot of people out there that are pretty famous on Instagram. They've not trained anybody. They've trained themselves. They've done a good job with themselves, but how have they helped others? What have they done? How much do they know about their own system? And so at Explosive Mechanics, I have a system in order to improve these athletes. I've held the state record in the bench for a number of years until this past month where someone finally knocked me off the board. But not only have I trained myself, I've trained a lot of athletes at the gym. And we've gone to powerlifting competitions before, and they'll try to tell us to set up this way or set up this way. But I tell them I take athletes. I'm not training my athletes to be powerlifters. I'm just making my athletes stronger. And we're so strong that we're able to go to competition, compete, and hold state records. Right here, I've had 20 athletes. I just checked today. So 20 of my athletes that I've trained still hold state records. 4 of them still hold American records. And 1 world record just got wiped away. So I've trained state record holders, American record holders, and world record holders in the bench. And so I've had 4 females. I just had at the last meet, I had a girl weigh 80 pounds. She benched 105 at 11 years old, 1.3 times her body weight. And her friend benched 105 or 110, weighing 91 pounds. So I'm getting a lot of these girls to bench press more than they weigh. And the thing about bench press is, for females, about 1.25 times their body weight is an elite bench, meaning they bench more than 99% of the population. And for me, I benched double body weight in competition twice. We lift with USAPL, we're drug tested. That way I've even had athletes on the World Anti-Doping Agency watch list. So once they start drug testing us, I say, you know you're strong when people are drug testing you. So I've had, like I said, American record holders. I've had female American record holders in the bench. I've had male American record holders in the bench. I've had, including myself, I've benched double body weight competition. Double body weight for male is considered elite bench. And so Kyle benched 150 at 151 pounds. He benched 325 in St. Croix for a world record at 15 years old. I've had Cody. I didn't write down or jot down his numbers, but he's benched double body weight in competition. So I've had a lot of success teaching the bench. I've had so much success that we went to a bench press competition one time, at just a general powerlifting competition, and someone said, "What do y'all do for bench?" And I was sitting there thinking, "Well, we bench, But I guess it's our setup, and I'm going to get into the 5 things that you need to know about the bench. But I want to let you know who I've trained and what I've done. I've got a list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've had 12 high school athletes benching the 400s. Hayden 440, Ryan 405, Alex 415, Colton 450, Kyle 405, Cody 415, Spiega 445, Colin 435, Mike 420, Jameson 405, Grayson 425, and Landon 405. So, and Grayson's even benched more in college. I think we did a 455 bench. I think Hayden may have benched 460, but I don't think he was in high school, so it was 440. So I'm just including or counting the high school athletes that I've had bench 400. Just like Colton, he was 190, 195 pounds, did 405 for 2 reps. Fairly light guys. Jameson was a kicker. Had a kicker in high school, bench 405. Grayson was a lineman. Landon was a fullback. Cody was a receiver. Alex was a lineman. Ryan was a lineman. Hayden played offensive line. So they were not very heavy. So some of them, Colton, Kyle at 405 was probably 161 pounds by that point. But that's not competition. The gym stuff is not competition, to where we have a start command and a press command and a rack command. So when we're going to competition, your head has to stay still, your upper back, your butt, and your feet have to be in contact. So your upper back and your butt has to be in contact with the bench, and your feet are in the ground. They can't tilt to the side. They can't move. And so you'll lift the bar out. They'll say, start, bring it down to your chest, press, lock it out, rack. Then your spotter, or you can rack it yourself. But if you don't follow those commands, when it's on your chest, if you're shaking, the head judge may not say press until that bar is completely still. So if you take too much caffeine, you can bomb out because you didn't do right. And I see a lot of people that go to bench competitions and they open up too heavy. It don't make any sense. But what I've come to figure out over time is people don't even know what type of bench they're benching on. Like if you have like these fat pad benches, if you got a thicker pad when you use it to bench press, if it's thicker and wider, it may be easier on your shoulders, but by the time you get to the competition, you can't hold your arch like you're supposed to. So the thinner the pad is. So I bench, if you heard me on the other podcast, you'd have to go back and listen to them. I don't know which episodes are on, but I had talked about the bench. Went to competition one time, and I had people come. It was a national bench press competition. I had people come watch me. I was doing 405 for reps in the gym. I get out of competition with a 376 bench. I was like, damn, that's embarrassing. You know, I was going to open up at 402. And so go back when in the warm-up room, in competition, they either use an Eleiko or an ER rack. And so back there, and I was training on a Forza bench. For those you know, Forza, probably about 2-inch foam pad. The pad of the bench press, and the ER rack is very thin. And so when they lifted the bar up for me, I was having a hard time holding my arch. The Forza bench had a really good sticky pad on it, so I was able to dig into the bench, get my arch up. But in competition, when the pad was thinner, my arch was falling about 1 inch, and I said, holy crap, this 225 feels like 300. And so I had to go change my opener at the last minute to 355. Go out there, barely got 355. Then I went out there and missed 376. Then on my third attempt, I got 376, just tried to arch the hell out of my back in order to make sure I got it. But I said, geez, I didn't even bench 405. I had people come up to Atlanta to watch me bench, and I think I got 5th place. I didn't even do good. And so went back, started a gym, I'm going to make sure on my bench, I'm going to make sure I do really good. I'm going to make sure I'm real strict. And so, again, I was benching 4 plus in the gym, go to competition, come out 396 bench. Like, holy cow. So after not benching 405 for the second time, or 400 plus for the second time in competition, I went around all the benches in the gym. And well, at the competition, I went up to the ER rack and I took an ink pen and I just etched into my leg as dark as I could get it so it wouldn't wash off by the time I got home or I got to the gym the next day, the height of the bench. So I walked around all the benches at the gym, tried to find benches of the same height, tried to find something that was similar. Well, I finally found a bench that the University of Memphis gave me back in 2004. And it was a hard bench. It hurt your shoulder blades. It was not very comfortable to bench on, but it felt very similar to what I was getting in competition. If you ever see it at the gym, it's the bench at the front, and it's got a 1/2 inch rubber mat at the bottom, because then with that 1/2 inch rubber mat, now my bench pad height is the same height. So, but it was very similar and hard for me to hold my arch. It was actually harder because the bench I bench on at the gym has no sticky pad, so it's not real. It's very slick. And it's almost paper thin padding on it. So it's almost like I'm benching on just a piece of plywood. So I started training on that. I had to bite my ego. I went back. I think I was in the 200s for bench at the gym. When most of the kids come to the gym, they saw me benching 3s and 4s. And so I had to swallow my pride because I hated going to competition and getting my ass kicked. And so I learned if you can bench in the hardest possible manner, when you go to competition, if you can make your practice harder, like the Patriots have done for years, if you can make your training harder than competition, you're going to be better. But a lot of people have feelings. You know, they want to lift the most they can in the gym. They want to lift as much as they can in the gym. They want to post it to Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube so that other people will follow them, and so that they can, again, maybe write training programs for other people. Well, if you're doing that, that's okay, but it's not the best way or best approach to make everybody else as strong as you possibly. You're not that strong. So although you're trying to lift as much, like I've done 315 for 20 reps. So I'm just trying to point out that I try to make my bench harder, and so I've had some other kids in the gym. They may have to be down in their weights in the gym in order to make the weight right for the bench. And so, although they had to swallow their pride, I've had even a guy that he called it the evil bench. He did not want to bench on that stupid bench because the paddles, he couldn't lift as much in the gym as he wanted to. So just because you lift a lot, and I've talked about this, and I talk to kids all the time at the gym, just because you lift a lot in the gym, I mean, you can lift a lot in competition. Been there, done that. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to teach you. Told a kid the other day, he came in, he said, Jared, you know what? You're right. I am right a lot about stuff because I've done it myself, and I've had my athletes do the same thing. And so the guy was going to try to break a state record. He goes in. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to bench on the evil bench. So he goes in. Didn't get it. Well, almost the exact same I did. Went to another competition. Didn't get it. All right, Jared, I give in. I'll stay on the evil bench. Although what was happening is me, a couple other athletes were going, we were lifting more in the gym for our bench press max. Then when we get to competition, we would lift less. So with a competitive environment and being in a competition, usually you're supposed to lift more because of the adrenaline, the atmosphere, and other things going on. But so Kyle's supposed to bench 315 in the gym, gets to competition 303. I was like, what the heck? And so me and several other people did the same thing. And so eventually we all started training on the evil bench. Well, for the first time, I went from a 396 bench. The most I've done in the gym was 420. And on that evil bench, so I did 420 on the evil bench. I go to competition, come out with a 430 bench at 209 body weight. Kyle went from a 303 to a 319 or 325, I think. But I don't know where his current numbers are. He did a world record at 325 at 15 years old at 151 body weight. And so Cody, evil bench, benched more. So now we were finally going to competition and benching more in the competition than we were in the gym. So all egos aside, all feelings aside, the bench that you bench on matters. So if you got a big company bench, yeah, you may bench more in your garage. You may bench more in the gym that you go to. But don't be surprised if you go to competition and you get your ass kicked because you've got a bigger ego than you know what to do with. So I've seen people in competition. Man, I hit that easy in the gym, but I've seen them on Instagram. I know what bench they've used because I follow them, so I've seen kind of what equipment they're lifting on. I'm trying to tell people, I'm trying to tell you, that matters. But if you don't go to competition, bench on the soft, comfy bench. Who cares? But if I'm just talking about a competitive atmosphere, and when I talk about bench press today, I am going to talk for powerlifting and sport performance and trying to teach you kind of how we got screwed up in the first place. You know, a lot of this stuff started happening in the 70s. Arnold was getting popular. Bodybuilding was huge in the U.S. And so you get a lot of people, a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, you're going to bring the bar down to your upper abs. Powerlifter is going to be about nipple line. So you're going to come down because they're trying to develop the chest using the bench press, where we're trying to move the most amount of weight possible using the bench press. Two different things. So all these kids coming to the gym, they want to bench a lot. Yeah. So why not bench in the safest possible manner? So you get a lot of people, so with Arnold getting popular, 70s, 80s, they had powerlifting, but a lot of the powerlifting back then, well, they still had gear. So by them using bench shirts, you know, it's kind of harder to get your setup going on and learning how to arch with it. And with the bodybuilders, and that's why if you go to some colleges nowadays or you go to high school, keep your back flat, keep your back flat. Yeah, because that's what it's told in the bodybuilding books. So I got a kid that was part of a powerlifting team at a university, and he was part of it. They never taught him how to bench. How frustrating is that? Your powerlifting team, you should be teaching your athletes how to bench. And so a lot of things I was trying to say is, if you got a guy that can jump a 40-inch vertical, but can't teach you how to jump a 40-inch vertical, although he can do it, like he may be popular on Instagram or something, because he can do this, but if he can't coach or train other people to do it, he's pretty much useless. And you'll see a lot of people, hey, I'm going to do these speed drills. I'm going to do what I've heard. I'm going to do what this guy's doing over here. Hey, Bolt does this. Well, shit, Bolt was already fast. So if they were genetically given that stuff, that ability to do that skill, if that was their genetically given gift, they didn't have to do a whole lot. They didn't have to learn. They didn't have to train. You remember, when you train, you're teaching your body how to perform. So if they never had to train someone else or train that skill into their system, they don't know. They're just doing what they're told. A lot of times, these professional athletes have coach. Bolt has a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. Brady has. A lot of high-end elite athletes still have coaches because everybody needs an extra set of eyes. I got people that watch me, and so I'm not a know-it-all, but I'm trying to teach what I do know to people so that maybe I could help them go from point A to point B. So with Arnold benching flat and chest, that's where kind of, this was in the 70s, 80s. And so if you have a coach, they were probably coached that way in the 70s and 80s. Well, that coach probably taught his kids, and those kids are probably thinking the same thing. So I went to a college university. Oh, you want to keep your back flat. You don't want to hurt your back. Geez, you don't herniate or hurt your back by arching backwards. You got the spinous process on the back that stops the spine from bending backwards too much. You herniate disc by bending forward or some type of shock. So usually a recipe for a disc injury is a bending over forward and a twisting at the same time. Then you got a nice recipe to herniate a disc. But going backwards, not going to happen. Your body is set up to protect itself. So you train your abs. The stronger your back gets, the less likely to get a hernia. So you got all these powerlifters, hernia disc. A lot of these powerlifters are deadlifting. I don't want to deadlift. I don't want to hurt my back. There's no such thing as a dangerous exercise. There's dangerous ways to do an exercise, but there's no such thing as a dangerous exercise. So with all that popularity history, that's probably how we got to the thought process: back flat, back flat. Oh, you don't want to hurt your back. Well, quit being soft. You know, a lot of these baseball players, oh, I don't want to bench because I don't want to hurt my shoulders. Well, we're going to get in that. So I know I rambled on for about 15 minutes or so with who I've trained. The thing is I've actually trained people at high levels: state record holders, 20 state record holders, 4 American record holders, 1 world record holder. And they're still today. Those people have been on that list since 2013. And some of them had just recently got on there at 2020 and 21. So I've got females and males that are holding state records and American records, even youth athletes. So I've trained myself and I've trained other people. It's just not something that I know or something that I think. It's something I have experience with, and it's something that I've actually accomplished. So let's get into the setup of the bench. That's the first thing. First thing you need to know is how to freaking set up. And you'll see a lot of people, I guess, that are having power. You'll see people do some fancy bench setups that they found on Instagram or YouTube. Oh, I'm gonna do this. So they go copy that person because that looks cool. Well, that if you don't know what that person's doing in that setup, you may look cool or different, but you ain't got a clue what the hell you're doing. And so to bench press with the most possible weight, you have the acromial process, the 2 furthest points at your shoulder blades. And so you want to squeeze those together and back. You want all the pressure on your traps. So I saw some kids the other day, they were having shoulder issues and had their shirts off. They had marks on the bench. Their backs spread out too far on the bench to get the pressure right. So I'm gonna have to do a YouTube video to show exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna try my best to explain it, how to set up through this. If you're paying attention or you're listening to this, like and subscribe to Explosive Mechanics on YouTube. Explosive Mechanics YouTube. You'll be able to see the podcast, me talk about this stuff. And once I start putting this stuff on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. So subscribe to Explosive Mechanics on YouTube so you'll be eventually able to find what I'm talking about, how to set up for the bench. So you got the acromial process, which if you got your shoulder blades, as the two furthest points at the end of your shoulder blade. So if you were to take and find at the end of your shoulder blade, it's a flat surfaced area where you can fit about 2 fingers on. And so what you want to do is you want to take that. That's when they say squeeze the shoulder blades together. But if you don't quite understand how to, if you just squeeze the shoulder blades together and the acromial process still stays outward, you can kind of squeeze down and the process stay out. You're squeezing your shoulder blades together. But if you look at their acromial process on the bench, if it's still, my arms I'm wider than this guy at the gym. And we measured how far our acromial processes are apart. So I'm about 2.5, almost 3 inches closer with mine than he is. And I'm naturally wider. So my acromial processes are, I forgot, we measured, I may be at 20 and he may be at 23, but I may be at 25 wide. So I'm naturally wider shouldered. He's naturally narrow shouldered, but his narrow shoulders, where his acromial process is on the bench, is actually further apart than where I'm at on the bench. But guess what? I bench more. So although you're seeing or hearing, hey, squeeze your shoulder blades together, yes, but you need to look at someone lay on the bench, or you video yourself at the bench, put it at the head of the bench to where you can see how far your acromial processes are together. So if you can just visualize squeezing those together, and then almost folding your chest up on yourself. So the further you can get your shoulders up onto your nipples, the better arch you'll be, the less stress goes on your shoulders, and the more you'll bench. So again, you want to squeeze the acromial process together, which is also squeezing your shoulder blades together. But I think if you can think about the two further endpoints, you get those to come together, and you work your shoulders down and back. Now you have your hands and stuff in a better favorable position in front of you. And so all the pressure should be on your upper traps. And if I can put this pin that I have in my hand up onto your neck, that means you don't have the pressure right. I think Dave Tate did the video series. If you put your feet up on the bench and you at the edge of the bench and you put your butt up as high as you can in the air, then you push yourself straight down in the bench. That's the pressure you want to feel. So now you have how you want to feel on your neck. So now if you can get your acromial process squeezed together and rotate your shoulders down and back, you'll have a lot of pressure. It's almost all on your upper traps. And people say up, back, and whatever. I think people see the videos on Instagram and YouTube and don't realize that if you video from the head and the shorter the acromial processes are together, the more the arch that person has and the more favorable they have to bench more. So once you have your neck and your acromials positioned right on the bench, you now have to get the logo on my chest. So I try to get that to face as far back to me. So if I have a wall behind me, I'm trying to get that logo on my chest to face that wall. So if someone's videoing me, like, holy shit, Jared, how do you get it? You know what? I was telling someone the other day, you're not going to go to the gym and get this done in one day. I told someone, when you go to bench, you always practice how you bench. You just don't go lay down and bench and, oh, hunky-dory, move on to the next day. And years ago, when I heard Louis Simmons, he said, once he learned how to bench, he lost his chest. Yeah, that's true for me. I've lost chest size because of the way I bench. But if you are concerned with chest size and you still want to bench a lot, you have accessories that can grow chest and muscular tissue, pectoral tissue. So, but a lot of people want to bench. Monday's National Bench Press Day, or whatever they call it. So if you're trying to bench everybody wants to bench a lot. So bench in the safest possible manner. Get your shoulders up under you. Get your shoulders up on your nipple line. Squeeze your shoulders together, down, and try to get that arch, your chest up with arch as much as you can. And so once you have that, I don't lift the bar out. My butt does not touch the bench until the bar is lifted out because I'm trying to maintain that pressure. And so I had kids that were watching me set up the other day because we was trying to talk about this, which prompted this podcast, is how to set up for the bench. Because a lot of people I don't ever get a chance to talk to, or they don't really get an understanding of what it is at the gym and how to do it. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do a podcast on this and it will click. So once you got the pressure on your traps, the base of your neck, with your acromial squeezed together, put your feet on the ground, keep your butt off the bench. I spread my feet out wide. And so once 1, 2, 3, once the bar is lifted out, then I just take my lower back and then I arch my lower back to the bench so that my butt touches. Now I'm just not sitting on it flat butt. My butt's hovering over the bench just like a hovercraft. It's not sinking, settling fully down. I'm using my legs to brace, so my legs are in the ground. And I like to think of a backhoe. People may not even know what that is. This leg goes down this way, this leg goes down this way, and it pushes back to the hips where the butt goes to the bench, but I'm actually pushing down and into the bench. I'm not pushing it across the chair to keep sliding on the bench. Well, I know you're not set up right. You want to push down into the bench, okay? You want to push yourself away from the bar because the bar weighs more than you. So hopefully I gave you a good visual of the setup. The number 2 thing you need to know is how to lower the bar. You want to lower the bar to your upper abs. Like you don't want to lower it just below the chest. You want to lower it to that upper ab area. So pull the bar apart, and I don't do that. I have the bar that rides through the palm, across to my thumb, and my hands are placed on it about like this, if you can see it in the YouTube. And so the bar is riding through my palm. I don't have it in my hand because if I have it in my hand, I have too much pressure on the back side of my hand to where now I'm going to have wrist issues. And you'll see some people that have wrist straps and all this other stuff. You know what? I heard a famous bencher one day. We was in there the day I got my ass kicked at the bench competition. He said, "You know what wrist straps are for? Those are for people with weak wrist." And he was wearing a pink zebra striped singlet. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? You know, I didn't know anything. I was just starting to get into this stuff. Guy goes out there and benches 501 at 205 pounds. And I didn't realize that this guy has not been beat in 25 years in bench. I was like, holy shit, this guy can bench. And so once you go to competitions, once you go to bench competitions, once you go to powerlifting competitions, you're like, holy shit, I got some work to do. Just like this kid today was a baseball player. He came home, talked to me. And some of these kids at the baseball team at the collegiate level, which is a D1 collegiate level, he said, holy shit, Jared, I got a lot of work to do. That's what I'm trying to tell these kids. You've got a lot of work to do because you don't know what else is out there. I didn't realize how bad I was going to get beat. You know, I was the best in the gym, but just because hey, we go to a commercial gym, we'll really show off. So just because you're the best in your gym does not mean you're the best in the state. And once you get out to the national area, you really better be on point. So if you think you're good, you need to get better. So when you lower the bar, you want to come down, you want your elbows to stay up under the bar. You want the bar to ride right through the palm of your wrist, and you don't have to grab it and hold on to it. If the bar rides through the palm, through the index finger, and through the thumb, you don't just have your fingers over the bar just to keep pressure on the bar so it can come out your wrist. Because your wrist and your palm should be facing up. Okay, if your wrists are straight, it's going to take pressure off your wrist, but then you have slippage and everything else can handle, and you won't press as much. So like when we're going to talk about the accessories, how it has to do with how you press. So you want to keep your elbows under the bar, and you want to lower the bar to your upper abs. And now we're going to talk about the press. So you want to lower the bar to your upper abs. You want to keep it away. The higher the bar comes up, so from your abs to the xiphoid process to the nipples, the higher the bar or the closer the bar gets to the chin, the more pressure on the shoulders. Okay, so now the press. When we press, you hear a lot of people say, hey, press back above your head. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And you know, like sometimes the people wearing the bench shirts, they may have been taught, hey, press the bar back over your head. I don't know anything about a bench shirt. We lift raw. And so all my athletes, we don't have time to go put on a bench shirt and do all that other BS with the competitive gear. We are raw benchers. We are benching this weight with no technical gear, basically benching in a t-shirt. And so when we press, we want to press, come down our upper abs, boom, press in a straight line. It's almost, you have to imagine pushing yourself away from the bar, they'll say, okay? If you push and you rotate the bar, like bring the bar closer to your head, well, if you do that, your triceps, I tell kids all the time, go down, straight line. The further you come up this way, the more your triceps stop working. And so that's where the weak points come in, is because if you're rotating the bar up toward your head, you've got a chance for shoulder injury. Remember, you're trying to keep yourself up under that bar as much as you can. And the more you do that, the less pressure goes on your shoulders. And you're going to hear all these baseball players, hey, you shouldn't bench, you shouldn't bench, you shouldn't bench, you're going to hurt your shoulders, you're going to hurt your shoulders. Well, shit, why don't you just learn how to bench? Because a lot of people probably have done research on people that don't know how to bench. A lot of sports scientists may be lab rats, but they don't know how to lift because they never lifted. They just want to go study this stuff. Well, if they don't know what they're looking for, if they've never been a competitor themselves, they're not going to understand. So you want to press it in a straight line. And so if you're pressing back over your head, you're losing triceps. And so your triceps, actually, the stronger your triceps are, the more straight line you can press the bar. And so that may be why some of the people have to press the bar back over their heads, because they don't have any tricep strength. So the stronger your triceps are, the easier it is to press the bar in a straight line. I had a kid at the gym see me bench the other day. He said, "Man, you make it look so smooth." Well, I'm just going point A to point B, and I do work my triceps. And so you don't want to rotate the bar. You don't want to press the bar up and back towards your head, because the closer it gets to your head, the less your triceps work, and the more it has to go to your shoulders. And so the weaker your triceps, you want your elbows straight down, almost a 45-degree angle here and straight out. Because when they start to wing out like this, no human in the world is strong enough to stretch the bar out to the side. So when you're short, we're talking about stick. So the fourth thing we're talking about is sticking points. And so if the bar explodes off your chest and gets stuck halfway, if your elbows flare out, the only way to do that is press it out with your shoulders, but the way you're pinched against the bench don't allow you to press the bar out. So that's why so many people get stuck halfway. It's because they have no triceps. The stronger the triceps are, the easier it is to tuck the elbows and keep the elbows up under the bar, so that if they flare out, you can't stretch the bar out if you're watching this on YouTube. You can't stretch the bar out. But if you got your chest up, if you look at me, the more your chest comes up, the easier it is to keep your elbows down. And so once you get to here, if you got strong enough triceps, the bar just rides and just locks out smoothly. But if your triceps are weak, your shoulders flare forward because your shoulders have to make up for the weak triceps. Then your bar is trying to stretch out, then you'll never go anywhere, blow your shoulder or something like that. You're either an arm dominant bencher or you're a shoulder dominant bencher. And so it's best if you can learn how to be an arm dominant bencher so that you have less injury risk or whatever. So the fourth thing is sticking points. So like I said, if you're getting stuck midway up, it's your triceps. Once the bar comes about 2 or 3 inches off your chest, then it's triceps that's going to lock the bar out. So bench is going to be about 75-80% triceps if you're benching in the right way. But if you're having a hard time getting the bar to come off your chest, the best thing for you to do is pause bench. Pause bench will develop explosive strength, starting strength, and speed of movement at the same time. So you can also use, being that if the bars get stuck off your chest, you make the chest bar hard. So if you come down, pause, and then press, you're using the static dynamic method. Remember, when we're talking about working out and training, we're using methods behind the exercises. We're just not using the exercises. Sometimes we're using methods. Most of the time we are using methods when it comes to a lift, like a bench, a squat, a deadlift, a military press, or a chin-up. And so if you're having trouble off your chest, the best thing for you to do is pause bench. Come down, pause, press, and try to accelerate with compensatory acceleration. You're trying to accelerate the bar as fast as you can, no matter how heavy it is. And now, like a training effort episode, I am trying to give maximum effort, trying to give maximum speed per rep every time I bench. If I got a set of 5, I'm killing 1, I'm killing 2, I'm killing 3, I'm killing 4, and I'm really going to try to mess 5 up. Oh, I don't want to get worn out. Oh, I got to coast till I get to 5. Well, that may be good your first workout or 3 or whatever, but by the time the teaching process goes along, if you're not teaching acceleration, your sticking point may be in the middle because you don't have enough speed to get through it. So I was told someone the other day, it's like imagine me holding a sheet of paper about 6 inches above your chest. If you press it slowly to that point, then try to press it out, you don't have enough speed to get through that sticking point. So speed can also help get through that length. But the thing about the static dynamic method and the way the Paul's bench works is you're developing absolute strength and rate of force development at the same time. That's why it's critical for it coming off your chest. A lot of people don't know anything about the static dynamic method. So the static dynamic method is what we use for our box squats, how we get our sprint through go so fast. So if you're having trouble at your chest, coming off your chest, Paul's benching will help you. Paul's benching using the static dynamic method, we're going to increase your maximum strength and your rate of force at the same time, so that if you are having trouble through the middle, maybe the static dynamic method will help generate enough speed off your chest to let you know if it's the triceps that are the weakest thing or not. So hopefully the sticking point right there helps, because it's either at the chest or the midpoint. If it's the lockout, you know it's the triceps. So anything about 3 to 4 inches off your chest is triceps. Or it could be bar speed. So if you use the static dynamic method, come down, pause, and press, and you got to come down, good pause, boom, accelerate with maximum acceleration every rep. So now the fifth thing is accessories. What do we do for our accessories? A lot of times if I have a kid that goes to high school, they're benching in high school and things, they may go to high school, they may not incline. That's like a gold nugget for me, because if I know if I can increase their bench, if I teach them how to bench, and if I get them to start inclining, that's an extra movement to help them bench more. We don't usually do a whole lot of military press or shoulder pressing, because these kids, for most of them, have always probably been shoulder dominant, because they don't get taught in high school or college how to bench. I didn't get taught in high school or college how to bench. So we'll use incline as accessory. We use incline a lot. Incline will help keep you stretched out so you don't get too bound up for athletes. You can use incline with your elbows out, because you can do lighter weights with that. So if you're learning how to bench in a compressed fashion, you can use incline. I like to do incline with a straight bar. Oh, Jared, I want to do dumbbells. You want to do dumbbells because it's easier to change. You don't have to worry about changing weight. It's a little easier to do. Well, sometimes I like to drive the strength up as much as I can using the bench. We go to an incline. We can use the incline to either stretch them out to make sure they don't get bound up or tight with it. We can use that as a bodybuilding method, more with the elbows out. Or we can use it just to increase their strength on incline. Like I've inclined 405 at 215 pounds, I believe I weighed. But I try to get my back on the bench for incline as I do for flat bench. So I really try to learn how to arch. And sometimes arching on incline will help transfer the arch back over to the bench. But if you already have a strong athlete and you start saying you're going to get tight, you can use the incline with dumbbells to help bring the bar down lower, to bring the dumbbells down lower. And sometimes these baseball people are like, oh, I'm just going to dumbbell bench. Well, dumbbell bench is more dangerous if you're trying to, because these kids are trying to increase their strength. It could be more dangerous because they have less stability with the dumbbell. So I don't want to hear that crap. Hey, I'm going to go dumbbell. Well, my coach told me to dumbbell bench. Well, where'd your coach learn this stuff from? Well, he heard it from this, or I heard that this. I'm tired of people saying what they've heard. I want to hear what you know. Don't tell me what you heard. I want to know what you know. And so with the accessories, we'll go from bench to incline. Then my favorite thing is tricep press downs. The lateral head of the tricep is the lazy one, and the medial head of the tricep is your workhorse of the triceps. You can get medial heads with overhead extensions, with dumbbells. I like them flat. I don't like, sometimes with a rope, you don't really get the medial head as much as you would with a straight bar. So sometimes with the easy curl bar overhead extensions, the dumbbells where your hands are flat, flex like you would a bench above your head. And so sometimes the kids at the gym like to use rope. Well, it's easier to change the weights over there on the cable machine, but it's not the most beneficial thing for you. Dips are good. Dips work the medial head. So find a bodybuilding method, and I'm going to go over the repeated effort method in another episode. Repeated effort, all the repeated effort method is bodybuilding things. I like press downs because I could overload my press downs. I talked about in another episode how to find your tricep press down max and work for that. But when you're doing your press downs, just don't press down the weight. We keep our wrists cocked up. We don't have our wrists straight. We're here, we touch here, and we press down, keeping that wrist straight because you want the wrist flat at the bottom, just like this. Just like you would have it in your hand when you bench press. And if you do that and you really concentrate, pause at your chest, and press down. We don't like to come above our nipples. We'll physically come to our chest and touch. We may come to our nipple line and touch, but I'm gonna have a full bend in my elbow. I don't have a 90-degree bend. I'm trying to let my forearm touches my bicep close to my chest, then I press down. And if I focus at it right, I can feel the medial head of my tricep working. And the better I feel that, and the more I can fatigue it with the repetition method, the more it transfers over to my bench. And when I took my bench from a 365 incline to a 405 incline when my tricep press down max was 130 pounds. And I was able to get to 150 pounds on tricep press downs. And that's at a real press down station, or you can do it at the lat pull down. Sometimes if you do it on a cable machine in the middle, you're only doing about half of what the weight says. So for years, I just drove my bench up to a state record holding bench. I was supposed to be top 5 in the world until I tore my tricep, So I was going for that at a meet, and boom, had an accident. And you know what? I just kept I kept the hammer down on my triceps. The only reason the tricep tore is because I had a competition coming up, and I went back off training, and I had to wake up in the middle of the night. Some nights my damn tricep hurt so bad I didn't know what to do. But I was not going to back off. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do competition. I'm either make my weight or blow my elbow off. I said, got to go for it. So the thing is, in the thought process of that is, I'm not an athlete. I can do what I want to. I'm like Humpty Dumpty. I'm not going to freaking die doing that. Doctor can go put me back together. Ever since I've torn my tricep, my right elbow has not had any pain. I've actually inflamed my left one. Or after repairing tricep. So if you've been injured, and if you know how to rehab right, like I didn't go to physical therapy, but about 3 weeks, that is a complete waste of my life, is that if you know how to rehab it right, you can make it stronger. And I was just messing with a doctor. So I want you to just attach it 2 or 3 millimeters lower so I'll have a greater mechanical advantage when I come back to bench press. Because I told him I'm going to come back and bench. I don't want to bench more than I did before I even tore my tricep, although I'll be older. And so let's see if I are missing anything about this stuff. Lower the bar. Press yourself away from the bar. So, speak points. So if I had to pick the most important accessory, like you see people doing rollbacks, we do rollbacks, we do dips, we do overhead tricep extensions, we do bench dips, we do our push-ups, or where their elbows coming in. So we basically call them tricep push-ups, or I call them close grip push-ups because we're trying to rub our elbows to our ribs on the way down. But if you had to pick one accessory for your triceps to help your bench, tricep press downs is the way to go. Michael Fahey of Westside Film messaged me one day when he heard me talk about how to maximize your triceps. You just don't go in there and do tricep press downs. You actually figure out a max, and then you work off that max using some type of bodybuilding set rep scheme in order to progressively overload your tricep to where it's stronger over time. If you're doing the same thing a year later, 6 months later, 4 months later on your press downs as you did when you started, and you wonder why your bench is not going anywhere, it's because you're not doing and pushing your accessories. So, number 1, press downs. Number 2, I like dips, just get a little bit more chest work in. Overhead tricep extensions will help from getting you bound up and tight. So, hopefully this 5 things you should know, which is the setup, how to lower the bar, the press, your sticking points, and some accessories to help your bench. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube so you can see some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Explosive Mechanics, Twitter, Explosive MEC, Facebook, Explosive Mechanics. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope this helped. Have a good day.